High in the mountains of Pakistan, where the sky feels closer and the world of people infinitely distant, lie harsh, unforgiving lands. There are no roads, no cities, no familiar hustle and bustle. There is only rock, wind, and the endless pastures where the flocks wander. This is the world of the Balochi shepherds, whose lives are governed by a Spartan, unwritten code. Their lot is to spend months on end trekking into the mountains, a journey that can last 3, 4, 5, or even 6 straight months of relentless work. In this world, cut off from civilization, home, and family, even the most basic ideas about life follow a different set of laws. Here, everything is different, not because the people are, but because the conditions themselves dictate rules that would seem unthinkable to a city dweller. The greatest challenge isn't the harsh climate or wild animals, but the crushing loneliness and isolation. The shepherds spend long months away from women. The dominant religion in these parts places a strict taboo on any intimate relations outside of marriage. Spending months in an all-male environment or in complete solitude, the shepherds constantly think of their families and wives. Down in the village, any deviation from the norm is severely punished. There is no room for flings or extramarital affairs. But up here, in the mountains, there are simply no other women. It's a kind of trap, and to avoid breaking down psychologically, they have to find a way out. And they find a way out, though it's not one prescribed by holy texts or openly acknowledged. It is a solution born of necessity, desperation, and the raw pragmatism of survival. In these mountains, there is an unofficial, practical custom that seems shocking to outsiders, but is an understood part of the unwritten code for the local men. In this world, no one is looking for romance or sensual pleasure. They are looking for a way to relieve a physiological need that becomes unbearable after long months of abstinence. And since there are no women, that need has to be met through unconventional means. It's not something spoken about with outsiders or sung about at festivals, but among themselves, the men all know. The wives, left behind in the villages, suspect it too. This is one of the most surprising aspects of this culture, a pragmatic tolerance. The women know, but they remain silent, not because they approve, but because in their worldview, it is the lesser of two evils, far better than a husband's affair with another woman. This solution is seen as safe and doesn't damage the family unit. Within this silent logic, an unspoken social contract has formed. What happens in the mountains stays in the mountains. It's viewed as a necessary measure, not a grave sin. It is a stark example of how harsh reality can adapt moral codes and public perception. This world has its own symbolism. A sheep, chosen and kept apart from the flock, becomes a silent sign for those in the know. Sometimes it lives right inside the shepherd's hut, and its presence near the temporary shelter raises no questions from other locals. This isn't cruelty. It's a forced decision, dictated by isolation and the impossibility of breaking more serious social and religious laws. However, a shepherd's life is more than just a battle with loneliness. It's a constant struggle against the elements, where every day is a test of endurance. There's no electricity, no cell service, and no chance of quick help. Shepherds have to find their own water, fix their own shelters, and cook over an open fire. Livestock is the foundation of their lives. They raise sheep, goats, and sometimes cattle. The size of their herd is not just a source of food, but also a symbol of wealth and social status. The Balochi are known for their hospitality and stoicism. In the mountains, you don't complain or discuss personal struggles. Fortitude and the ability to keep things bottled up are prized qualities. This helps them survive in an environment where showing emotion could be seen as a sign of weakness. Historically, similar survival practices have emerged not only among the Balochi, but also among other mountain peoples living in long-term isolation. To an outside observer, it may seem bizarre, but for them, it's part of a way of life where survival comes first. The silence around this topic isn't just a lack of conversation, it's a form of collective agreement. These communities maintain a fragile balance. No one condemns, but no one discusses it. Humor and folklore serve as a release valve. Jokes and hints, understood only by insiders, help them accept the inevitable. In the songs and stories shared around the campfire, you can hear echoes of this hidden life, but they are always veiled in irony and metaphor. In the mountains, a shepherd's body is, above all, a tool that must withstand cold, hunger, exhaustion, and loneliness. Like any tool, it requires maintenance to keep from breaking down. It is within this logic that the understanding took root. Satisfying a physiological need, even in an unconventional way, is part of staying functional. If a man has endured the ordeal without breaking the ultimate taboo of being with another woman, his transgression in the mountains is seen as a compromise that preserves his public piety and the integrity of his family. But today, things are changing. The youth are increasingly leaving for the cities, where different rules apply. Modern technology, cell phones, and transportation are erasing boundaries that once seemed permanent. While this tradition may linger in remote areas as a necessary measure, it is slowly fading into the past, becoming a part of collective memory. We are witnessing the disappearance not just of customs, but of entire worlds born from the necessity of survival. And so, with the arrival of civilization, what fades into oblivion is not just a custom, but an entire cultural layer built on a silent agreement and harsh necessity. An old shepherd, having returned from the mountains after decades of this life, sits by his home. He watches his grandson, who is glued to the glowing screen of a smartphone. On that screen is the entire world, cities, cars, women from every continent. A world where there is no place for 6 months of isolation and the desperate solutions it demanded. To the old man, these aren't just pictures. They are a symbol of the end of his own universe. His experience, his resilience, his knowledge of the mountains and the animals, it's all losing its value. His deepest secret, which he carried as a heavy but necessary burden, is becoming irrelevant, almost laughable. What was the point of that forced compromise when a connection to the world now fits in the palm of your hand? There is neither shame nor regret in his eyes. He looks back on his past not as a sin, but as a battle he survived. But he sees that the unspoken agreement has been broken, not by judgment, but by the indifference of a new era. What was once part of a complex survival system can now be easily branded as savagery.